kind of the trouble with this recording a little bit. Literally right before we started, it was about 5:30 p.m. or so, and my neighbor was just hammering in his shed next door.
What's he building?
I don't know. But I'll give my theories. And had been hammering and sawing since sometime around 8 a.m. So he put in a good 8.5 hours nonstop. He's a bit older, too.
Is he hiding from any family that he lives with, or...
No, and funny, we'll do a branch off of this side story. The neighbor next to him down, one day they were coming by, and me and my roommate were on the front porch, and we're just talking, and the people were like, "Oh, hey, we never talked to you guys." Like, and we're just like, "Yeah, what's up? We're, whatever." And they're like, "Oh, we're these people. Come, we're gonna have a fire tonight. Come on by if you want to." And like, just if you ever see us out there, come on in. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Yeah, that's really.
They're like a middle-aged couple, and they seem pretty cool. So like a week later, my roommate tells me, he's like, "So yesterday I saw the neighbor, the one that's directly next door to us." He's like, and I said hi to him. And then I was like, "Oh, hey, how's your wife?" And he goes, "My wife has been dead for a couple of years."
What?
And he said the wrong neighbor. He thought it was the other people.
Oh, no.
And the guy was like really weird about it. Yeah. And I remember just feeling like, ugh. So no, he doesn't have anybody. But he's doing what appears to be fixing the inside wall of his shed one board at a time by hand hammering them in is the only thing I could gather. Because it's just like, it was just hammering for hours and hours. And
I think his arms would get tired.
At some point, it's just like, yes. At some point, it's like, what are you even doing? And I think because his shed is kind of dilapidated, he's been fixing it. I saw the outside. Like, he's been rebuilding the outside.
Oh, I was going to say, you're going to find out he's actually been reading in there and just has a boombox that's just like playing.
Well, I hadn't
hammering noises.
Yeah. Well, I hadn't exited the bedroom, because depression. So I finally came out, and I was like, if there's not a whole fucking house out in the backyard, I'm going to be pissed off.
Yeah, there's going to be a gazebo or something, and you're like...
I would just nod my head.
Well, go improve upon it. He clocked out for his shift.
Yeah, build a bigger shed. That's what America's all about.
Yeah, you could use some more noise pollution.
Mm-hmm.
I can't build a shed without a permit. And there you go. That's the whole reason the Conservative Party exists.
Man, you need a permit for a shed?
Yeah.
I thought that was just for like pools and stuff.
And next thing you know, Randall's praising Ronald Reagan. That's all it takes.
Yeah, now he is. Never done it before.
That's why I'm so excited for the new Call of Duty.
Yeah. Can't wait to see Ronald Reagan in 4K.
Yeah. You're going to see Ronald Reagan in 4K on your new television.
Yes. I bought a 4K television. It's very large.
So anyway, besides people that ruined human history, what else?
Oh, man. Well, we are back. Another bonus Halloween episode, a part 2, kind of, if you will, to last week's subject, from what I hear, bringing us to an even 4 again, like last year, which is great. Now, the only thing I truly know about today's game is really just its initial concept. One I find very interesting, personally. Collaborative internet horror aside, the actual idea at the core of what we're about to get into actually has been pitched before. A video game that is only temporarily playable. Something that would appear and then one day be gone forever. And I'm not talking about Nintendo's artificial scarcity or the numerous titles that are no longer accessible due to shutdowns of a service or incompatibility or licensing or even a controversy. No, this would be on purpose, an experience you could live, but then never again be able to relive. Such an unrealistic and bold strategy almost came to fruition many years ago, prior to digital storefronts, when none other than gaming auteur Hideo Kojima said in a 2004 E3 interview, he mentioned basically like a previous project he had in mind where the disc would disintegrate if the person playing were to hit a game over.
What a fucking lunatic. I love him.
I know. Obviously, the venture was completely ridiculous and totally unfeasible. Even if the tech side of it was to be figured out, no publisher or manufacturer in the right mind would ever agree to distribute such a product. Not to mention the thought of having to repurchase another copy to continue would have likely pissed a lot of people off. Funny
Do
enough.
you remember Metal Gear? Remember Metal Gear when you died and you had to get a new PS2 because there was disc dust lodged inside your console?
Now, funny enough, this was all prior to mobile stuff that demand, additional spending to advance. That, and you might say there's even some of that original DNA found in things today, such as roguelikes. Then in 2015, a multiplayer thriller game called The Flock released on Steam, in which all the users would collectively share a set pool of lives. When the maximum of how many available were used, the game would then close down and become unusable for anyone that purchased it. The social experiment, however, reviewed poorly and sold so little that the population being monitored was never even affected in any meaningful way before the server keeping track of the life limit went offline. My point, though, is that these conceptions fascinate us and apparently have for a while. Killswitch, a third-person action shooter released for the PS2, Xbox, and PC. I'm kidding. Killswitch.
Killswitch is a great game. You should play it. It's like Gears of War before Gears of War.
And yeah, it influenced not just Gears of War, but also Rainbow Six Vegas and Uncharted, I think.
Yeah, and the dude, the main protagonist, wore goggles. He was dope.
And he was voiced by one of the Baldwins, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
God damn it.
I think it was Adam Baldwin. But no, Killswitch, a point-and-click puzzle title supposedly made in 1989, where the uncopyable file was said to delete itself upon completion. Austin, what is the deal with this shiz, and how does it connect to Pale Luna?
Okay. Well,
I thought we were talking about. I was going to say Hideo Kojima's remake of Enter the Gungeon, where if you die, somebody comes to your house and shoots you in the head.
Yeah, but then only your offspring can continue that that campaign.
Well, Killswitch doesn't have any direct connection to
or a
Pale
clone
Luna.
of you.
The only connection it has to Pale Luna is in sort of its metafiction, as we talked about last episode.
Yeah.
But first, a primer on the game itself. Killswitch was created by the Karvina Corporation in 1989 out of the Czech Republic.
What does that name translate to or mean?
We'll get there.
All right. It's like Sinislersion.
Yeah. The game, of which there were only 5,000 copies ever made, could only be played once. As Randy said, upon death or completion, the game data would delete itself from the disk and from your computer, making it impossible to restart the game.
Intense.
The game was a 2D point-and-click horror game. It took place in an abandoned Soviet mine. And
yeah, I saw those pictures kind of. Yeah.
2 playable characters. The first
It's a
one...
good aesthetic.
Yeah.
The first one was named Porto, a young girl. And the second was Ghast, an invisible demon.
Cool name.
The story says Porto wakes up in a dark mine with wounds and no memory of how she got there. She discovers that it is an old coal mine that she used to work in. The mine has since been shut down after the workers were tortured in order to increase production by inspectors sent by the Savitic Corporation, the company that owned the mine.
Ultor.
These inspectors would shove blades into the joints of workers who were working too slowly.
Yeah, I'm way less familiar with this story setup.
Yeah. Mechanics, like I said, normal point-and-click adventure game, except there were some unique mechanics for each character. Porto was a girl who would randomly shrink and grow in size, seemingly randomly, which could make solving certain puzzles impossible. Porto had to collect tapes that would play audio about the shutdown of the mine, as well as solving puzzles and cracking ciphers and other stuff like that in order to find out more information that would lead her to eventually the end goal being get out of the mine.
Okay.
Ghast, on the other hand, was different. Ghast, as I said, was an invisible demon, but he was not invisible just to everybody in the game, but was also invisible to the player. Huh. He had a...
This sounds way more developed than the the last story. Like
yeah.
He had
a flamethrower weapon that you could use, but once and you could see the flames, but once you were out of ammo, you couldn't see anymore.
That sounds hard.
Which made solving puzzles as Ghast and navigating the environment nearly impossible, since you couldn't see the character that you were navigating, and there were things that you were supposed to avoid and not walk over and things like that.
Gotta get a Game Shark.
Well, now the story goes as such. The game caught on pretty heavily in the West to the point where people wanted it to share it with their friends, but they couldn't because it would delete itself.
That's some DRM right there.
Yeah. So people begged Karvina Corporation to make more copies of Killswitch. Karvina responded with the following press release.
Fuck off.
Killswitch...
No.
Pretty much. Killswitch was designed to be a unique playing experience. Like reality, it is unrepeatable, irretrievable, and illogical. One might even say ineffable. Death is final, and death is complete. The fates of Porto and her beloved Ghast are as unknowable as our own. It is the desire of the Karvina Corporation that this is to be so, and we ask our customers to respect that desire. Rest assured, Karvina will continue to provide the highest quality of games to the West, and that Killswitch is merely one of among our many wonders.
Sticking by it.
Yeah. Porto and her beloved Ghast sent people into a frenzy because nobody knew what Ghast was since it was invisible. Many believed that Ghast was a friend who died in the mine or a pet, since it says Porto and her beloved Ghast. And this sent people into a fervor, believing that the true meaning behind the game was hidden behind beating the game as Ghast, a near impossible task.
I wanted to make a joke, by the way, about when you brought up the statement about how it's like, no, this is the amount of copies that we make. And so I was like, oh, so like Nintendo knows about this, right? Like that was their their
they
thing.
got the idea from Karvina.
Oh,
Why don't you
great
make
idea.
Why don't you make more of the Mario collection? No.
Yeah. Unfortunately, due to the game being nearly impossible as Ghast and there only being 5,000 copies and the game deleting itself when you died and or beat it, nobody ever beat it as Ghast.
See, Nintendo kind of has that a little bit too, because some of their cartridges can like only work with your Switch and you can't, or your 3DS or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, you can only have a save on it, yeah.
Nintendo is very Soviet-like, yes. That's what you're getting at. And so, only 5,000 copies are ever known to exist of Killswitch. And the legend goes to this day that there is only one known copy left. The copy was put up for auction in 2005 and was purchased for a whopping $733,000.
Wait, what?
By a Japanese businessman named Yamamoto Ryoichi.
Now I don't know what part of the story is real anymore, because I was about to say, I was like, oh, just make it a lower number. Like, there's only 86 copies of Poop Slinger.
Yeah.
But hell, I could believe someone at an auction going for...
Ryoichi
Collectors are
stated
nuts.
his intention was to record himself playing the game so that it could be preserved before the last copy finally deleted itself. And also he wanted to beat the game as Ghast.
Sure.
To this day, Ryoichi has only ever uploaded one video, which simply shows him sitting in front of a computer at the character select screen sobbing. And that is the tale of Killswitch.
Cool. Oh, I was going to say, where did those screen grabs come from that I saw? Or was it?
Hold on. So, that is the story of Killswitch that gets spread around. The creepypasta, if you will, although there isn't really a creepypasta of Killswitch. It's more of a Polybius situation where this story kind of just gets shared.
Right.
Yeah.
The legend started on a now defunct game blog called Invisible Games.
Huh. I'm not familiar. That's
run by a woman known only as the handle The Archivist. And that's all we know. The Archivist,
Alrighty.
and that it is a woman. That's it. That's all the information that's known about whoever ran this blog, which is, like I said, now defunct. If you go there, you'll get a 404.
Can you Wayback Machine it?
You can indeed.
Hey.
But this post led to a lot of people digging for information in the game. And strangely enough, no history of a company named the Karvina Corporation could be found. Although that makes sense since it was a Soviet company. Soviets are pretty secretive. It was,
For
however...
more on that, check out...
Yeah. It was, however, discovered there is a town in the Czech Republic named Karvina, and it was known for one thing and one thing only: coal mining. There is no discoverable...
This is the new Silent Hills, isn't it?
Yeah. There is no discoverable record of the game anywhere outside of this one post. No history, nobody else posting any, no pictures, no forum posts. But again, this is a game from the early 90s that supposedly deleted itself, so that fits in with the fiction. And most importantly, there is no record of an auction that anyone could find where a game was sold for that record-breaking amount of money, and no record of anybody named Yamamoto Ryoichi buying anything at an auction. And there are some very low-res videos of a man sitting in front of his computer at the Killswitch character select screen crying. However, there's no confirmation that this is not a copycat or that it is not, that's not legit or anything like that. But that video does exist online. You can find it.
That's eerie.
And this all seemed like a huge dead end for those searching. Pretty definitive proof that the game was indeed, it's just a story. The game's
sure.
fake.
But I meant, like, what makes this, I mean, the funny thing about both of these games, Killswitch and Pale Luna, is their stories aren't outlandishly unrealistic.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing I think that always was a little bit of a detriment to the Polybius tale, is like, it's not completely unbelievable, really. Like,
sure.
Like...
it takes some leaps in logic to kind of cover its tracks, to plug some holes in where you could poke holes.
That's all stories, but
it's not completely unbelievable. However, I discovered a thread, this time on Our Cursed Games, not Our Creepy Gaming, revealing just a whole ton of new information.
Weird.
The person who made this thread no longer has a Reddit account. It has been deleted. So I don't know what their history of posting is or anything like that.
Is it Yay Video Games?
But in 2013...
That's a really obscure joke. I'm sorry.
A mysterious YouTube channel going by the name Ghast 1989 was put up and only ever posted no commentary playthroughs of parts of Killswitch.
Oh, no commentary, my man.
Yeah, including the infamous character select screen, parts of both playthroughs, including Ghast and Porto, which should be impossible since you can't really go back to the character select screen once you select a character.
Right.
Because it'll delete itself. You have to reboot the game. No download link to the game was provided, and the uploader claimed that this was because they did not want to risk the game deleting itself if they tried to copy anything. Ghast 1989 also claimed to have a father that worked at Karvina.
Janitor.
There is also another video on the channel. There are two more videos on the channel, not of a playthrough, but the first one explaining why the uploader does not want to provide people with a download link. The second explaining that their house got broken into and nothing was stolen or destroyed save for a footlocker in the basement, a footlocker which contained the disc for Killswitch.
What's a footlocker?
It's like a little lockbox thing.
Okay. Besides
it's just like a
franchise,
metal
I guess.
chest.
It's a metal chest you put at the foot of your bed.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just like a little safe?
It's not a safe. It's just a lock, like you put a padlock on it.
Just literally picture a school locker and then just lay it down.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I know what it is. I guess I never referred to it as a footlocker.
Is a store.
Well, that's probably why
But that's
it had to have come
that's
from
what
something.
It's named after, yeah.
Now I'm going to look like an idiot later.
The videos then suddenly stopped, and the user was not heard from for 2 years until the Twitter account of the same name, Ghast 1989, tweeted that they were still alive and that they were reading a new book that everybody should check out. Everybody who was interested in Killswitch should check out, named Religion, the Ultimate STD, Living a Spiritual Life Without Dogmatics or Cultural Destruction.
Wait, the ultimate what?
The Ultimate STD.
That's what I thought you said. I just wanted to be sure.
Yes, sexually transmitted
transmitted disease.
Spiritually transmitted. Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, it's dumb. But
hey, It Follows did it, and it was awesome.
That's true. This leads to another Twitter account from the Karvina Corporation, a Twitter account established in 2014, littered with just insane cryptic tweets, disturbing pictures. I shit you not, I made the mistake of looking into this story very late at night, and some of those pictures had me kind of feeling a little... but there is one tweet that is linked to Ghast 1989.
I'm literally going to go do look up all this as soon as I get home, by the way. This is like that PAX game I wanted
Ghast
to cover.
1989 tweets something, and then the Karvina Corporation responds saying, "Check your footlocker." This tweet was posted 5 days before Ghast 1989 uploaded the video about their break-in at their home.
This is getting... Boy, go on.
This, the author claims, basically confirms that Karvina Corporation is responsible for the damage to Ghast 1989's locker. They were trying to get their game back. Karvina also had their own YouTube channel which has 4 videos of Killswitch on it, but it's a little bit different version. The Reddit post claims that some parts of Karvina Corporation's videos show things that are not possible with technology in 1989. Screen distortions, flashing lights. The videos on Karvina Corporation's channel may either be an updated version of the game that they are hoping to re-release, or perhaps Karvina Corporation made fake videos that are meant to resemble the game. Both possibilities can explain the technology inconsistencies and the reason for scenes in Karvina Corporation's videos not appearing in Ghast 1989's videos. There is, however, one more account by the name of Porto 881 with one video of just the character select screen. However, back when this account was created, YouTube had a feed feature that was similar to Facebook where you could just set statuses for your channel.
What?
And it has the following 4 statuses. Quote, I have seen something I shouldn't have. Finally, the end. It's been a while, huh? And the last one is Russian, which, if you translate it, says, do you want to see the end? The rest of the post
Boy, do I.
then devolves into this dude reading STD, Religion, the Ultimate STD, and trying to discern its connections between Ghast, Porto, Karvina, and Killswitch itself. It's insane. It's thousands of words long. I'm not going to read it here because this podcast would go from a shorter episode to an hour. Do you want me to read it? It's very fucking long.
No. All work and no play.
I will give you a summary.
Okay.
The conclusion is that a game company from the 1980s would not exist on Twitter in 2014 if they haven't made a game since 1989. And that book is very connected in a lot of ways to Killswitch's fiction. Therefore, there's only one explanation, and it is that Karvina is not a game company, but, to go back to the beginning of this month, is indeed a cult that made Killswitch in order to recruit new members.
Woo!
Which is what happened to Mr. Ryuichi, is what happened to Ghast 1989, and it is also what happened to Porto 881.
You think a cult would want their message out there in a more accessible way.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they're just super very, very selective. I don't know.
It's
like some last Starfighter cult you got going on here. You gotta beat a fucking video game to get in.
The rest of the threads that I could find on the game were much less a dissection of the fiction of the game itself and more a dissection of the claims that the story makes, mainly focused on the technology surrounding a disc that would delete itself.
Especially, when they're claiming it's 1989.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's something awful forum post I mentioned in our last episode on Pale Luna. I mentioned that the Pale Luna story was on page 55. You know what those first 54 pages were all about?
Oh, is it Killswitch?
Polybius, and how Killswitch couldn't possibly delete itself. Stating that the technology for a disc that destroyed itself would be very hard and expensive to pull off. And not only that, but if somebody had developed the technology to do as such in 1989, the technology and patent on said technology would be worth way, way, way more money than a game that you could only sell 5,000 copies of.
That's a funny angle.
Especially we're talking end of Cold War era. Like it just that is a major tech thing especially for government agencies and things like that, and just private corporations.
I mean, what's the closest equivalent to that Mission Impossible type idea now? Oh
well, there's a great video I think I showed you, but I don't know if you
showed
remember.
Me?
Yeah, there was before Netflix, there was a video rental service.
Oh,
that used to give you discs.
Holy shit.
Discs that were airtight sealed, and once you ripped the airtight thing off, they had 3 days before the backing of the disc would decay and the movie would become unplayable.
Oh my god, that was so fucking crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I know, and think about that.
Have to send anything
modern,
back.
So to make a save, I
mean, that's the only way you could do it. You could do it organically, but a game from 1989 would no longer work if someone bought it in 2005.
Yeah, right? That's true.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. Well, you were saying the closest thing to Mission Impossible now is that you can actually do that, probably have explosives.
Yeah. But without going through forum threads of people debating the technological prospects of a disc that deletes itself,
I want to know what the goons have to say.
That pretty much ends the investigation of that.
I mean, hey, the best horror stories have a little bit of ambiguity to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of need that.
I'm sure that Redditor out there is probably still trying to figure out this story somewhere. but his account is deleted. And yeah, we have a Something Awful forum post of people debating. There were some people that did have some ideas of, hold on, I'll see if I can find one. They did have some ideas on how a company in 1989 would actually create a game disc that would delete itself. How do you fucking open links? There we go.
I mean, Kojima wants to know.
Kojima does want to know.
He developed a cartridge that used sunlight to power an in-game character. That's...
Yeah, okay, here's the original forum poster says, this is at the top of page 55 where the Pale Luna story is. I hate to drag the Killswitch thing up again, but it is actually possible for a game to delete itself. However, for this, we need to start thinking about computers in the distant past of 1989. Now, as I recall, the CD-ROM standard for storing binary data didn't come into play until the mid-'80s. CD-ROM games were actually pretty excessively rare for a while, so Killswitch probably would have come on floppies. Maybe one, but who knows? Regardless, let's continue. Now, we have to start thinking of things a bit more obscure, something like a little virus called the Elk Cloner. Elk Cloner spread by infecting the Apple II operating system using a technique known as boot sector virus. If a computer booted from an infected floppy, a copy of the virus was placed in the computer's memory. When an uninfected disk was inserted into the computer, Elk Cloner would be copied to the disk, allowing it to spread from disk to disk. An infected computer would display a short poem, Elk Cloner, the program with a personality. It will get on all your disks. It will infiltrate your chips. Yes, it's a cloner. It will stick with you like glue. It will modify your RAM too. Really, all the game would have to do would be to make sure that the virus prevents the game from being successfully copied, has to run off the disk, and wipe either the disk or the relevant file from the disk, containing a random encryption key to actually decode the files. Not saying that the story is true, but it is theoretically possible and fairly likely that a game with such a limited run would ever have been successfully cracked, especially with how finicky it was at uninstalling itself.
I like that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I mean, that sheds some perspective. Now I feel like I'm going to fall into some weird, like, internet holes tonight.
That is the end of my investigation. Most people correctly will call this a hoax, citing any of the dozens of leaps in logic I said earlier that make the story pretty much impossible. But a glance at any post on the story will still have people arguing over its validity. So,
or its possibility.
I'll end on this. You know? What do you guys think? Fact or fiction?
Fiction. But I do think that there's, like, I don't know, there's kind of reputable evidence that technically proves that the concept is theoretically possible.
Sure.
And I think that's super fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if this will, like, if that entire, pitch will kind of find its way into some sort of product at some point. I think that's almost the bigger question.
Yeah.
And it's like, if will this actually...
What are your thoughts, Chris?
Get expanded upon?
Fact or fiction?
In a way.
Never mind, it's not going to work. I was just going to play the clip of Jonathan Frakes telling you you're wrong from the facts or fiction.
Okay, that was Jonathan Frakes. I couldn't fucking...
All right, so my answer, no. We made this one up.
Okay.
False. Totally false.
Okay.
You're wrong.
Well,
I gotta be in celebrity poker. Or was it multimedia Windows poker? I don't know.
Do you ever go mountain biking? the Jonathan Frakes Ask You Questions video, top 10 YouTube videos of all time.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess just with Polybius, we'll just have to trust our guts on this one, as we'll never know the full story.
Like any true urban legend, it gets to be labeled as inconclusive.
Nope, I'm just fucking with you. Of course it's not real. A book by the name of The Melancholy of Mecha Girl, written by Catherine M. Valenti, published in 2013 by Simon & Schuster, contained a short story which caught the attention of some gaming fans that were reading the book. Catherine M. Valenti, by the way, responsible for some Minecraft books, as well as some Mass Effect books. She writes a lot of side fiction for video games, so this lines up with her.
Does she know the guy that wrote the longest piece of...
No. She's not a fan fiction writer. She's a published author. These are
more respectable.
These are like published books that the Mass Effect people commissioned her to write, like Fall of Reach for Halo.
Never mind. The wires got a little crossed there because I just immediately associated with the fucking
story,
Smash Brothers.
One of the
wow, they hired a professional writer after the fact. They should have fucking did it during the production of the goddamn game.
All right. Yeah, Melancholy of Mecha Girl is a collection of
That Smashing Pumpkins album?
technology-based short stories written by Catherine M. Valenti. And one of the stories is taken word for word from the post on Invisible Games. The short story is simply entitled Killswitch. This, of course, led people to accuse her of trying to, similar to the director who made the Pale Luna short, people accusing her of trying to pass off internet legend as her own work of horror fiction.
Piggybacking off that.
How dare she take stories from the internet, right? Wrong. Just a little bit of sleuthing shows that Invisible Games was not actually a blog about games, but was a collection of game-related short stories written by the archivist, also known as Catherine M. Valenti.
Well,
Yeah.
that's pretty open and shut.
So once again, the simplest piece of evidence was missed in the name of keeping this spooky urban legend alive.
Yeah, because I was gonna say it's kind of no fun. Like, I mean, obviously, like I didn't, I always knew it was fake, but that's why I mentioned, I don't remember if it was the last episode of this episode where it's like you want to believe, and it's cool that it got to sort of live on in its own in some way, but. The truth is still important.
Fuck spooky shit. Thank you for explaining it to me. I feel way safer now.
I don't want to sleep.
Yeah. And that is the end of that story. I feel a little bad. I was planning on reading the entirety of the actual short story for Killswitch at the end of the podcast because I wanted to reveal first that it was a short story. But
sure,
if you want to read it, go buy this lady's book. It's like $8. And
I mean, we can't bury the lead twice, right? This is a companion episode of the other one.
Yeah.
And it's a cool way to promote
yes.
stuff.
So check out The Melancholy of Mecha Girl by Catherine M. Valenti on Amazon or wherever else you want to buy an ebook if you would like to read Killswitch.
Sounds like a wicked manga or something.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that ends the saga of video game creepypastas.
Hey, it was cool, and I'm glad I opened this up by being in the dust a little bit.
Yeah,
but Austin, I think starting to turn you, getting you into horror after all.
Nah, dude, I just debunk it. It's all fake.
Yeah, but what happens when you get to the thing that you can't debunk?
That's when
then
it's
you'll
scary.
be on board.
I told you this. Mister, hey, here's a YouTube video of a girl that went missing in like Bolivia or whatever. I don't want to read that shit because it's real.
Yeah.
And
that's
spooky.
why it's so scary.
I know, it sucks. I'd much rather read about the alt-right and how they're destroying our way of life.
See, I can't handle that.
Yeah, that's my horror.
Just look into the well with me. You don't look.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's my horror.
Yeah. See, yeah, you both are way
our
more
real life
fucked
is
up than
horror.
me.
I don't need to look up serial killers and shit.
How about UFO videos?
They're all fake.
I know,
Aliens don't exist.
Well, come on.
Nope.
Somewhere out there.
Statistically, we're the only people in the galaxy. There's no way there's anyone else. That's all I'm going to say.
That's not what
Tom DeLonge says?
Yeah, I was going to say Dan Aykroyd.
No, Dan Aykroyd is ghosts. Tom DeLonge is aliens.
Oh, yeah. Well,
my favorite 80s movie, Alien Busters.
You going to tell Tom that he's wrong?
No. I'm just not going to listen to Angels and Airwaves anymore. All right.
You don't need that to. But yeah, that was cool. And a good, I guess, a third piece of our gaming urban legends triangle with Polybius, Pale Luna, and Kill.Switch.
Nope. Kill.Switch is the other one. This is just Killswitch.
Right. No dot.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. I said this last episode, but if you somehow stumbled onto this and did not hear the Pale Luna one, go listen to that. You can go to hotbuttoncast.com, which is our website. We also have a new collections tab, and in there you can get different collections. I think there's one on console development stories. We have like the Virtual Boy, the 360, the Xbox, the Dreamcast, all a bunch of episodes. We have our Supreme Court series, which is the ESRB and the Violent Video Games Supreme Court hearing.
Oh, yeah.
We have our Tetris 4-parter.
Tossing everything out there. All right.
And we also have the Halloween one, in which you can find Pale Luna and Polybius, as well as a couple other spooky stories, such as Devotion, the Shinrikyo game. What was that called? Kakukurshi
The story
Village or
of
something?
Kamakashiki Village.
Kamakashiki Village.
Woo! I remember I did that better than I did on the actual episode. Yeah, and
yeah, I was gonna say, congratulations.
And some of these stories involve real murder and fake murder.
Yeah.
It's up to you to find out which one.
Yeah.
Which one's which.
And then, of course, if you're not just into the spooky stuff, we do have 70 some odd episodes of video game stories. But yeah, thank you for listening. You can also find us on Twitter, Instagram, and
That's
Facebook
the wrong boo.
at Hot Button Cast. Subscribe on all these podcast services that are out there. Review us on iTunes and share with your friends if you enjoyed the episode.
Yes, and be on the lookout next month for our celebratory 2-year birthday.
We are, as of the release of this episode, very close to the release of the new consoles, with which we will be completing our trilogy on the series of Xbox consoles with our episode on the Xbox One.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
And then following that, we will be doing our 2-year anniversary update episode in which we go back and correct all our mistakes and reminisce.
I fucked up that episode we just recently did that I'm going to have to...
reminisce about,
Well, I didn't fuck up, but I left something out that I wanted to.
2020 and what a great year it's been for everybody.
That's the true horror.
And then December, our favorite Christmases. Mine is the first one. Thank you for listening, and we're out.